Nursing is rewarding, important, and often all consuming. And let's face it, it's been a rough couple years. You deserve a laugh. Enter a card game called Nurses Against Insanity, a fun, slightly scandalous take on the work and life of a nursing professional. This game has over 300 cards that we hope will make you and your nursing colleagues laugh hard enough to pee, unless you've been doing your Kegels. Who should play the game? Nursing professionals in any of the various states, such as frustrated, happy, tired, and probably overworked, anyone who's recently had to clean under a funky panis, and everyone who recently thought, I'll have to laugh about this so I don't cry. Visit www.nursesagainst.insanity.com to order the game and use promo code SuccessNP to save 20% off your order. And happy gaming.
Success MP, welcome. It's your host, Sandra, and today we are joined by Sierra Rusinski. She is an MSN FNP, and she was born in Hawaii, and she was born to military parents, and she has a master's degree from Texas Women's University. She's a registered nurse, and she's a nurse practitioner, and her expertise lies in helping engaged firms secure mass torts, mass actions, data breaches, toxic exposure, and personal injury cases. I know you're wondering, how the heck is she a nurse practitioner and she does all these things? Trust me, we're going to piece it together for you today on the episode. She's happily married, which I love. And she has a dog child named Chef and a free range bunny named Cookie. That's hilarious.
Right.
Really so happy to have you on today, Sierra. And I just cannot wait to share your incredible journey. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Sandra. I'm excited to share my story finally.
Yeah.
Super cool things that we can finally tie it all together.
Yes. Today, literally, I've been having the most incredible conversations with nurse practitioners in non-traditional spaces, and it's everything. I also know that you're a model, which if anyone's watching on YouTube, you can tell she is a model and a lifestyle content creator. I just think you're just incredible. So let's get started. Kind of what inspired you to move from clinical practice to marketing? And I think your journey is really interesting because you came to this spot in your nursing career that was a pivotal moment for you. And I want you to describe that to my listeners.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, what had been going on is I was working as a pediatric nurse for a couple years, and something that really bothered me was that regardless if I was working 110%, the nurse next to me, as they had been there longer, they were making significantly more than me. So to me, that meant regardless of how hard I work every day, I'm never going to make a wage that is satisfying unless I fully commit for the next 10 to 15 years. And then it's like, what's the price of money then in 10 to 15 years? Am I just going to keep staying at the same level when I think I'm going upwards? Am I on an ant and going on an elephant's backwards when you think you're going forward?
Yeah.
So I started asking around, opening it up to my community, just telling them the things I wanted. So what I knew I wanted was potentially to get into some sort of business development wellness role. I feel like that's every nurse's kind of soft launch into quote unquote getting out, right? We talked about how I got tricked into a couple pyramid schemes. Happens to the smartest people. So got tricked into a couple of those. But then my girlfriend, who I actually worked with, mentioned that her son's football coach owned a preventative wellness clinic in a nice part of town. They wanted to hire a lead nurse with a big personality. So I ended up having a conversation with him in a couple of weeks, and they hired me as a lead nurse within a month until I left pediatric nursing. Was there at a preventative medicine clinic for about 6 months. Conflict with my manager, Sandra. I was actually fired from that job, which was really appalling for me because I'd never been fired before. And I had been there for 6 months and honestly had completely made that job like my life, my personality, and my satisfaction. Would highly do not recommend that because you have to find value of yourself outside of work.
Yeah.
But that was hurtful for me, but a really big lesson. The same owner of that clinic, he was the one who brought me on, but not the one who fired me. The manager had fired me.
Yeah.
And so I knew I'm going to go talk to the owner. How could you pull me away from pediatric nursing, bring me on for this super exciting role, and then just let somebody fire me over nothing?
Yeah.
But he seemed more relaxed about it, which was surprising to me because I felt like my world was on fire. And he wanted me to meet him for coffee. in the next couple of days to kind of talk things over. So I met with him for coffee, and he mentioned that he had another business that had been around a lot longer than the clinic. Great group of people that he always thought he could see me with, but just didn't know when he could offer some sort of transition. They pretty much offered me a role at his legal marketing company as an account executive that I could interview with his CEO and his director of the time and just kind of feel out what they were doing. But at this point, I wasn't super trusting because I just got fired from his other business.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Oh my God. Yeah. I believe you.
This sounds like a great opportunity to get
It was
fired.
kind of like it's a setup.
Yeah, what am I getting punked right now?
That's the result. So I ended up interviewing with the guys that he had mentioned, the CEO and the director, and it went well, but I still just in general had no idea what they were doing. Like I didn't know what SEO was. I didn't know what a mass tour was. But I told them I would think about it after the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I asked for another conversation a couple weeks later. And in that time, I had decided if I hate this and have no idea what's going on after giving it my best, I can go back to nursing.
Right?
Yeah. It's always kind of your safe out. So I took the job. And I just somewhat reluctantly, since I had no idea what was going on, to be honest. I just kind of loved the personality of the people that I met. Yeah. Loved that they were taking a chance on me. And I've been with T-Side, the legal marketing company in Austin, for 3 years.
Wow. Wow. And so one of the things that I think was also super interesting is that during this time, you kept your nurse practitioner or your nurse job also working for you, right? Because I know you got your master's degree during this time. Like you were still grinding on your nursing career while pursuing another career in a completely different, segment of the industry, the job industry. I mean, we're talking about like healthcare and marketing. These are they're intertwined, but they're not, especially for a nurse practitioner, necessarily something that we get ourselves involved in. It's definitely super cool that you still kept what I would like to call your golden ticket, your backup plan, like whatever it is that I can go do this at any time. I'm going to keep investing in me while I'm still learning what I want to do and not do. I just think that's incredible. And kind of what kept you still fighting for that while you were pursuing this other industry?
So when I started at TSEG, I was already almost 2 years into my master's program, and I had already paid off all my loans from undergrad. So I decided that I was going to pay for my master's completely out of pocket with monthly payment.
Go, girl.
At the time, I joined TSEG and was like, I want to quit my master's program. I had already personally invested like $15K into myself.
Got it.
And so not to, say that's the only reason I finished it, but just from like a personal investment piece, it'd be a really poor investment to just flush $15K down the toilet towards an education that was a golden ticket to a 6-figure income.
Exactly.
Which gives me a lot of security about being in a sales role, is that at any point I could be a nurse practitioner and still, make my bills.
Exactly.
Money for my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I like to tie a lot and to encourage nurse practitioners is that our nursing skills translate into so many other jobs. One of the things that I always like to kind of pull from nurses that are or nurse practitioners that are not doing traditional stuff is like, okay, so how do your skills translate into what you're doing right now? So I hear SEO, I hear reaching out to law firms, law firms figuring out how your business at TSEG can help them in their marketing needs. Kind of what have you found you're tapping into your pediatric nursing skills? Are you tapping into every day that you do a job in a completely different field?
Sometimes when I have crazy people I deal with, I always tell my boss, I'm like, I think I have the pediatric nursing skills, but
to deal with these babies.
But to be honest, I wish that every nurse or nurse practitioner knew the power in completing a tough program against all the odds and how you can apply that to anything in your life. Like the fact that we could go through some of the toughest programs, have people fall out around us, listen to directions, show up to things that we don't even think make sense, but still do 110%. If you apply that to any program in your life and just realize, hey, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. Number one, I think that's a nurse's biggest skill. Number two, I think the biggest skill that a nurse can bring into any type of business space is assessment and intake. The fact that I have this edge of asking open-ended questions and providing a thorough assessment, whether it's a head to toe or your intake process at your law firm, that is something that has taken me really far and is the easiest way for me to apply my nursing skills directly into my business skills. And three, as a nurse, we have the hardest conversation on planet Earth. The hardest. So I have no shyness when it comes to hard business conversations or cold calling 30 people because I've already had life-changing conversations with people. I really don't care if you say F you and hang up on me. That's still better than my worst day as a nurse.
And true to what you just said. I mean, I took that abuse for way less.
Like, I was doing that for free.
I was like, one of the things that, you're saying I've had another, I think it was Papa Nurse Papa. He came onto my podcast and he said, if I can convince somebody crazy to take their pills, like I can buy anyone into something. And it's facts. I can talk somebody into walking after surgery. Like you just had your abdomen opened up and I can get you up and get you to walk.
Like think of the conversations you've had with people handcuffed to a bed. Like
think about it. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. But
every day I try to forget.
Try to forget. Yes, no, exactly. And so I think that nurses are just always thinking like, I don't have the skills or I need an MBA before I can go do marketing. And it's like, no, friend, you've been doing it. You've been doing it for a while.
Exactly. Every time you say, hi, my name is Sierra, I'm going to be a nurse. That's your first marketing.
Well said. Well said. So what does a typical day look like for you as a nurse practitioner working in marketing and doing something different? What does your typical day look like? Hey, I hate to interrupt a good conversation, but I have to tell you about the newest sponsor for the Success NP podcast. Now, do you ever feel like you can't get ahead on charting? Imagine a world where you did not have to think about writing notes again. I want to introduce to you Freed. It is an AI medical scribe built to free clinicians everywhere. It listens, transcribes, and writes instant clinical notes for you in your style. It learns how you like to write notes, and it does it for you. Free can be used across all specialties and in office as well as virtual visits and works in multiple languages. I use it in my current practice, and it is an absolute game changer. I've gotten other NPs to use it as well, and they echo the love for Freed AI. Freed AI is HIPAA compliant and only takes seconds to learn. Over 15,000 clinicians, including doctors, nurse practitioners, therapists, they use it to save up to 2 hours every day to free themselves from documentation. I wouldn't be on here just giving rave reviews if I hadn't tried it myself. It works so well. Start your free trial today. No credit card needed at freed.ai. Use code SuccessNP50 to get 50 off your first month when you subscribe. Attention, all nurse practitioners and NP students. Are you tired of feeling the disconnect between clinical rotations and didactic teaching? Say hello to Success NP's clinical booklet guides.
As NPs ourselves, we know how valuable it is to have a resource that helps bridge the gap between clinical and class. So we created the digital resource to do just that. Our clinical booklets cover 5 major NP tracks: psych, adult, peds, family, and women's health. Success NPs wants to create tools and provide support NPs need to thrive in their careers.
So why wait? Check out our Success NP Etsy shop, linked in the show notes, for our digital guides and other digital clinical resources. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Are you work from home? Are you out in like schwanky events? Like what are you doing? Like, what's it look like for you, Sierra?
Both. Most days, though, I work from home. I wake up really early every day. And I'm sitting for my boards actually at the end of April. So every morning I do my little online course.
For your
My
NP boards.
Mm, Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're like in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, I graduate in December. I take my boards in April.
Good for you.
Yeah. So every morning I still wake up and do school really early, just like I used to.
Yeah.
And then I probably work on school for maybe 90 minutes. And then from 7 to 8, I work on my lifestyle brand, which is Sierra Dee Online. And then my first work meeting every day starts at 8:15.
Mhm.
And then after that, I'll probably have either like some client meetings, maybe do some preparation to meet with some firms. I'll have a lunch, which I'll always do some sort of like exercise. And then after that, I might do some cold outreach, post on LinkedIn, catch up on my inbox, submit any new projects to my team. So that's what like my typical 8 to 5 would look like. But I do probably once a month travel to legal conferences for work to meet lawyers I haven't met before or connect with current clients because I work with law firms across the country. So a lot of my firms that I've worked with, for 3 years, I've actually never even met in person.
Wow. So
Mhm.
what training have you had to do, if any, to kind of walk into this space, right? Like there has to be
Yeah.
some type of, I had to brush up on, I had to buy a, law firm for dummies book, like something, what you got, Sierra? Because it's really impressive. You've got to be able to hold your own. Like we can hold our own with docs and nurse practitioners. We can have those conversations, but this is a whole different jargon. It's a whole different space. How do you navigate
How
that?
did I learn? Yeah. Well, I had 2 weeks of training with my boss before going out into the field.
Whoa. Okay. So that's pretty
We did
quick.
remote. We did some remote training, and really the training was pretty straightforward. We would only meet for a few hours in the morning, and then the rest of the day I would do whatever they taught me to do that day.
Yeah.
But I would say most of my skill comes from my colleagues who trained me for making mistakes. Horrible. It's not,
Fun.
but it's the best training. And my bosses will tell you that. And they always told me, don't get too involved in the weeds. Like, don't be too concerned on how everything works all the time, because I would say that was my biggest fault as a nurse. Is like, I need to know how everything works. Is it like, well, you're not in operations, and that's going to take too much of your brain power. We want you to be an account executive full time. Like, you don't need to be thinking about how we're doing everything. You just need to be the account executive. So that was something that was really hard for me to let go of, but launched me forward.
I think one of the things, I'm a homeschooling mom, so I teach my little one, like mistakes are how you learn. Because school, and the reason why I'm really passionate about homeschooling him is because I think school teaches you mistakes are bad. You make a mistake, you get a bad grade, right? And what you just said is tantamount. And I think to a certain extent makes people afraid to go out and try things that they might make a mistake in. I might fail. I might not look like I know what I'm doing. I'm not, like, all these different concepts that it's like, no, you can do it sloppy. You can build the plane as it flies. Like, these are things that people do. Just take action. And that action matters. You'll be above all the people that, kind of like what your coworker said, I need to know everything about everything, and then I will get started. It's like, no, you just need to get started, focus in on this part, and then build the plan as you go. Make mistakes, pick yourself up from mistakes, don't do them again, and keep moving on. And so we have this really cute book. It's called Beautiful Oops, and it's a paper that's been destroyed. You've either crumpled it, you splattered paint on it, and I'm literally teaching my 5-year-old to take the splattered paint and to make little bugs, or take the little splatter paint and create a tree. These are the things and the concepts that I think nurses need to hear, that it's okay. Yes, we want to be perfect with administration. We don't want to make mistakes with giving people drugs, and we don't want to make mistakes. But in other fields, you learn through the mistakes. You're not a bad nurse because you made a mistake. You're going to be okay. You got to pick yourself up and keep trying.
Make mistakes in nursing. I feel like my personality completely changed. I'm sure it's pre having a child and realizing that, because in nursing, there's no room for error.
Yeah.
You'll lose your license, you'll lose your livelihood.
Yes.
And my girlfriends and I always talk about how that happens day one you go to nursing school. Do you remember if you didn't pass your dosing exam before every quarter, you couldn't proceed in your program?
Yes.
And my program only allowed you to get 2 mistakes on a 12-question quiz for dosing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's ingrained in us that you can never make a mistake. And I don't know, like if you remember nursing, if you made a mistake, it felt extremely shameful. And like my entire career could be taken away from me.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that is the antithesis to, in my opinion, growing a level of confidence and resiliency. Nurses, I think, to a certain extent, they get into their minds that like we could be perfect. It's like, no, the whole system's already making mistakes. Like Swiss cheese model of the whole, where the doctor misses it, the nurse misses it, the pharmacist misses it. There are multiple layers of mistakes that can occur because we're that last line between them, that whole system, and the patient. We feel a super big pressure to not make any mistakes. And it's just the antithesis of that in the business world. Your mistakes are how you learn. When you read these books by Napoleon Hill and Stephen Covey and all these incredible genius minds of people that study business, they talk about their mistakes, that they learn more from their mistakes than they ever learned from their successes. And I think to a certain degree, I don't know how nurses embrace the mistakes without the shame, or I don't know how we overcome that because it's so tough. They look at the nurse like, well, why'd you give it? It's these mistakes that we make, we learn from. And they're important there to create systems so that the mistakes don't happen again.
That shame in the business world, you'll never move forward.
Yeah.
You really can't carry that same nursing shame into your career.
Yeah.
Or
I agree.
forward.
I agree
I
with
sure
you.
feel that way with the podcast and your Instagram.
100%.
Like, yeah.
I mean, I started that, and I'm going to just tell you, like, I started that while my son was napping. And I'm like, I'm 33, 34 years old. Like, what am I doing? Like, I have a doctorate in nursing. Like, what am I trying to like come up with something new? Like, what are we doing, Sandra? And I'm like, no, like, I shouldn't have to go someplace to make money. There should be other options. And just that belief that even if this fails, even if this doesn't work, like, even if I never make it, the fact that I just put action into something and made messy action steps and built the plan while it was flying, I'm never going to look back and regret that. I think that more nurses and nurse practitioners need to hear, like, it's okay if you try something and it doesn't work. You're trying something. That is above what most people ever dream and aspire to do. They don't even dream to do anything, and you've at least given it a shot. Like,
well, it's so anti-nurse to be creative and to take risks and to fail. That's literally anti-nurse.
I think that there's so many nurses that have so much creativity bound up inside of them that never gets expressed. And I've had these wonderful conversations with nurse creators that they were like, it took getting sick. It took getting laid out. It took some event in their life where they couldn't work as a nurse that made them go, I just started doodling. I just started creating. And then they create these beautiful things. And I'm like, see, nurses, like, we have this bound up in us already. Like, don't just think that it has to be this one grind. I have to just be here. No, you have so many options. You have so many things. And I think it's so inspiring that you have carved and created yourself a career in a field so different from nursing, but you find your skills translating so perfectly. What advice would you give to a nurse practitioner who's interested in saying, could I get involved in marketing? Like, could I give that a try? Like, what would you tell him or her, to be thinking about, like, what to be searching for?
Not pyramid scheme. I never want to to stay away from pyramid scheme. Like, seriously. The one thing I would do is just start talking to your community and people that you trust. Even I didn't really even know what that was going to be for me. I just knew, like, I like business development. I like wellness. What does that look like for me? So I just started kind of entertaining anyone around me who would talk. Even if my husband introduced me to someone he's working with, I would say, I'm a pediatric nurse, but I'm looking to get into kind of like wellness, business development is more my interest. And then I was going to, marketing events, saying these are the things I'm open to, not marketing events, just networking events in Austin in general. Like, I would just go Google Austin networking events. And if there was one that looked cool, I would go show up and just talk to everyone about what I'm doing now and what I want. And so I would just urge every nurse, I know you guys have crazy schedules, but just start talking to the people around you, your roommates, your neighbors. You never know whose ears they're going to meet. And if you just start speaking life into what you want, you might find yourself at a legal marketing company 2 years later. And I feel it's another good soft transition spot that people like to land in is any type of like medical sales.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what I think a really important thing to touch on and just stop at real quick is about speaking life into something. I think that what you keep bringing up and you keep saying is just like, I kept putting it out there. And like,
Mhm.
you'll be kind of surprised how what I like to call the laws of attraction, you can call it like, if you have faith, like if that goes against your faith beliefs, like fine, whatever that is, that you just start putting that energy out there, things start kind of finding you. It's because you're putting out that energy and it's starting to attract back to you. It's kind of interesting how when you start to believe in yourself, others around you begin to believe in you too. And so they end up kind of pushing you towards the things that you're saying that you're wanting because other people start to get on board with what it is that you're hoping for. And so I remember when
And
I
the people who aren't on board, they got off the train.
I mean, you start to notice those people fall off. And like, I remember when I went part-time as a nurse practitioner and there was no part-time like nurse practitioners. They were like, you can't have this. And I was like, hold this. I'm going to go find it. So like, I went and found a part-time nursing job as a nurse practitioner. Everyone was like, how'd you find this? And I'm like, I just put it out there. Like, you got to go. You got to go try. And like, now another nurse practitioner went part-time at my job. And she was like, this was easy, I think, because you've already done it. Like, we need other nurse practitioners in these spaces to show us what we can do, to break the mold, to kind of hit that glass ceiling, to bust it through and just be like, you don't like, did it. You can do it.
Because I feel like a lot of people put boundaries on what they think below. And you'll meet small-minded people who will try to put boundaries on yours. But I'm telling everyone listening to completely deny and disregard anyone who puts boundaries on what you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how crazy or you have to be delusional.
Yes. Right? Like, you have to be crazy.
People were like,
You have to be crazy. Crazier. No, again, like there's so many things that I think in my mind. I'm like, this is a Sunday, right? We're doing this on a Sunday. Other people are grinding, doing like, or maybe doing nothing. Like, hey, hear our voices. Like, you got to be crazy about it. You got to there's 1,000 things I could be doing, but no, this is important to me. I enjoy this. I enjoy pouring my heart and my soul into this. Find the thing that does that for you, that you're like, I want to talk about this for forever, or I want to encourage other nurses, because I remember that feeling of being like, I have to go, kind of like what you were saying on the floor. Like, I have to go back to work and leave my baby with a stranger. Like, wait, what? Like, no, that can't be. No,
yeah.
I've got to start attracting and finding those things that are different for me. And every nurse has those moments. Every nurse that breaks out of the mold has a moment of, this cannot be how this continues. What are some of the challenges that you find in this career that you're in? I know things are new. I know it's not what you spent a lot of time learning about. So what are some of the challenges that you find in this space? I mean, it kind of feels like maybe a little bit of like a bro world that you're kind of in. I mean, a lot of lawyers are guys. So like, and then like, you're this like model nurse. Like, how do you overcome the challenges?
Well, let me think about my challenges. I would say,
Okay, I love that you have to
number
think about them. That's great. Like, yeah.
the number one challenge that I have is that I don't get warm, fuzzy feelings at work anymore. I don't meet new parents and help them build their confidence and feel connected with their family. Like, I remember going to a football game in my neighborhood and have a mom come up to me and said, like, you are my pediatric nurse. And I remember I was so low and I had the lowest amount of confidence. And you made me feel like I could take over the world every time I came and saw you. And like, for me, like, I don't get those type of compliments in my job anymore. So sometimes it's hard for me to feel like I'm not using God's gift to my fullest advantage to care for others. That I would say is my largest insecurity as a Christian. But, with the insecurity, there's things that make me secure in what I'm doing now and give me peace. We're talking about the challenges. So that would be the first one. I actually get that comment a lot about the bro world and working with a lot of men. In fact, I probably get that question every time people find out I work with lawyers and majority. To be honest, it's something that someone would, likely hit on me at a conference. I wasn't going to be blind to that. People
Okay.
you and hit you,
Okay. Yeah.
things like that. But I've never been in a business meeting and felt undermined or not respected because I demand it.
Oh, come on, girl.
And if people even try to edge towards any type of joke that I think is disrespectful to me as a woman, I will correct them really fast. And then it never happens again. So to be honest, I don't have any situations where, I was like super uncomfortable and didn't know what to say. I set my boundaries really fast and I talk about my husband really quickly to other men.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that aspect. I think I was thinking more along the lines of just commanding authority, just feeling like you're an expert in this area, just the different things related to the job. I feel like I noticed that female physicians, that it's tough. It's tougher because, physicians are mostly male dominated. And so I know that there's a struggle in that space to show your competency, to show how serious you are about the career. When like there's an element where I feel like I'm like, we're still women, like we still want family, we still want things that I think make it hard for us to be career drivers per se forever. But it sounds like in regards to, having those interactions, they're pretty positive. I mean, it sounds like in general you have, no real big issues outside of inappropriate stuff that just comes with walking down the street as a woman, like it's gotta.
You can work with a surgeon, you can work with a lawyer.
Exactly.
I see where you're coming from in terms of like leadership and feeling like,
Yeah.
he had to go through that after my first year of legal marketing. Is like I work with this and my boss is that I have to demand and make a seat for myself at the table. Because I was starting to get invited to bigger dinners with big industry leaders and I felt like I wasn't making space for myself. I was trying to keep my volume as small as possible because I knew I was half the age of everyone at the table.
Yes. This
No
is what
one
I'm
can
talking about.
expect me to be an expert. But I decided I'm going to make room for myself by being genuine. Regardless if I'm acting like a female in my 20s, I am a female in my 20s and I am an expert at this.
Yeah. No.
It made me feel better because I don't act like I'm an expert personal injury lawyer. I'm an expert legal digital marketing.
Yes. Okay. That's an important distinction. I definitely think that you answered that question very well because it's multifaceted. It's not just in one area. And then
Make room for yourself though. Make room for yourself at the table. Don't make yourself small and make room. Scoot over.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good.
Here.
Yeah. And to cultivate that confidence in your 20s is tough. I mean, I feel like I'm still struggling with that at 39 years old. It's like, whoa. And with the skill and the time that I've had, I think it takes time to cultivate that. I think it's really inspiring that you've been able to just kind of go like, I felt that. I noticed it in myself, the self-awareness. And I was just like, I don't need to be cocky, but I just need to be confident. And that's different.
Well, you feel the dislike. Like I have sat at a table and felt the dislike from people near me thinking I'm not an expert. And I used to make myself quiet. But then I decided if I hear something that's incorrect, you should say that because they would correct you as well. And I noticed by being genuine, saying, hey, like, that's not right. Like, that's not a real diagnosis that you're talking about. That made room for me at the table.
How do you see the role of nurse practitioners in the marketing world growing? Do you see this as something that more NPs can crack into?
I really do think that any nurse practitioner or nurse who wants to get in a marketing or sales role should 1,000% take the opportunity if they're interested. And I see more healthcare people moving into the industry. I've met other nurses in similar roles. So I know that marketing companies are open to hiring us and love to have people who care, have high emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And like I said, you have the power to complete a critical thinking program. You have the power to complete self-training.
That's so good. And where can listeners connect with you, meet you, Sierra? You're so wonderful and your content is so great online. I just was like scrolling. I was mindlessly scrolling. I was like, oh my God, our wedding was like, I love her bride. It's her dog. Like, it's just such cute content. You also work as a model. Where can people find you, check you out? How do you find time to do all the things you do? Yeah.
Everyone can find my more candid lifestyle stuff on Instagram. It's Sierra Dee Online. But if you're more interested in my career type of content, I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can find me under my name, Sierra Dee Rusinski, or I believe after LinkedIn, / is legal marketing expert.
Okay, great. Guys, I'll put all of her links in the show notes. And so before we close the episode, I do a rapid fire question.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, excellent. What book would you give to someone if you're like, this is the book, read it? What would it be?
I'm like Med-Surg Nursing by Lewis.
I'm lipping.
If you never want to read again.
What's your goal? To never read? Med-Surg Nursing
I have
Volume
something
5.
for you. Okay. So the book I recommend anyone read is called The Defining Decade. And it's about using your 20s to their full advantage to have tools in your tool belt for the future.
Oh, and I'm going to put it down and I'm going to read it myself. That sounds great.
You don't need to be in your 20s to read it.
Okay, good. Excellent. Hopefully it'll apply and I can make my 30s the last year of my 30s the best ever. Okay. And
You
then,
might skip the first couple of chapters.
okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. Okay. So, if you had to pick someone to play you on TV, who would it be? I mean, you might say yourself because you're a model, but who would you pick?
I pick Aubrey Plaza.
Wait, oh, she's funny. She's the funny girl. She's like weirdly funny.
Yes, I love her.
You love her. Spirit animal, like you think like part of her is inside of you and you feel like that would be expressed.
I like that she's genuine and dry.
Yes.
I feel like I am also dry, so I think she'd be a good fit for me.
Yeah, that's really funny. Okay. And then what was your first job ever?
Like under the age of 16, like before I could legally work.
Legal, illegal. What was your first job?
My first job ever, I was door to door to my neighbors, and they were older, so they needed any help around the house. So hold them like, oh, the trash out for $5 or whatever they want to pay me. But my first job on a W-2, I had bus tables.
Bus tables. Stop. And underneath, underneath the table was like, I don't know, like very nursing. Like it was very like kind. Like it's like direct to nursing or something.
I mean, I was so little. My dad was like standing. They start.
Okay, don't snatch her, but she's offering to help you with her.
Do we have to say yes? Like you're done.
The Success MP quote of the day is, they succeed because they think they can, by Virgil. And again, Success NP, we are all about what it looks like to make your life successful as a nurse practitioner for you. And this is just another conversation about what it looks like to create and carve the life that you want. And I think Sierra so beautifully put that there's a moment that you decide what your life is going to look like, and you decide if that's successful or not to you. And you determine that doesn't look like success. Me being here for 20 years and chasing after inflation and not feeling like I'm getting compensated, that was not it for her. And so she changed it. And every nurse has that capacity to build that for themselves. She did it because she thought she could. And look at her. And I just think it's so incredible. And thanks for coming on today, Sierra.
For having me. It's just such a pleasure to just meet with another like-minded nurse, another like-minded delusional person.
Another crazy.
But I think it's great, and it's super inspiring the fact that you mentioned you're a mom, you have your doctorate's degree, you knew you didn't want to leave your kid at home full time, and now you get to homeschool. Like, you are living the life that you imagine and spoke into this world, and like you are a reflection of that success. So it has been an honor to be on with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra, for saying all that. It's so kind. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out, and join us next week.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success NP. We hope today's discussion has shed some light on the diverse career options or taught you how to improve your clinical practice as a nurse practitioner.
Remember, whether you're considering a specialization, pursuing advanced certifications, or exploring non-traditional roles, there's a wealth of opportunities out there waiting for you. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and leave us a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. The Success and Peace podcast is on the World Wide Web, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So subscribe to our newsletter for updates on new podcast episodes and other information to help you on your own NP journey. You can always message us at successandpeacepodcast@gmail.com with any NP podcast episodes or topics you'd like us to discuss.
Until next time, take care. Stay curious and keep advancing your careers as a nurse practitioner. And just a friendly reminder, the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. The information should not be used in substitute for professional care by a medical provider. The information on this podcast does not represent medical or professional advice or services.
Bye for now.